Today's devotion is from the minor prophet Amos in the Old Testament, Amos chapter 7. The purpose of the book of Amos was to serve as a warning to Israel for falling away from God and to pronounce judgment on the northern kingdom of Israel, their complacency, their idolatry, their oppression of the poor, kind of a wake-up call from God through the prophet Amos to Israel. And what caught my attention is the subtitle for chapter 7 is Locusts, Fire, and a Plumb Line. Locusts, fire, and a plumb line. This is what the sovereign Lord showed me, Amos. He was preparing swarms of locusts after the king's share had been harvested and just as the second crop was coming up. When they had stripped the land clean, I cried out, "Sovereign Lord, forgive. How can Jacob survive? He is so small." So the Lord relented. "This will not happen," the Lord said. So God had grace on them because of Amos's prayer. This is what the sovereign Lord showed me. The sovereign Lord was calling for judgment by fire this time. It dried up the great deep and devoured the land. Then I cried out, "Sovereign Lord, I beg you, stop. How can Jacob survive? He is so small." The Lord relented. "This will not happen either," the sovereign Lord said. So both visions that Amos had of what was going to be coming judgment were spared because of his prayer. This is what he showed me. The Lord was standing by a wall that he had built, true to plumb, with a plumb line in his hand. And the Lord asked, "What do you see, Amos?" "A plumb line," I replied. Then the Lord said, "Look, I am setting a plumb line among my people Israel. I will spare them no longer. The high places of Isaac will be destroyed, and the sanctuaries of Israel will be ruined. With my sword I will rise against the house of Jeroboam." I was not super familiar with a plumb line. It's a device, a weight on the bottom of a string that lets you know that a line is straight or true. So it can be really important when you're hanging wallpaper, for example, to keep your lines straight across a room, and in construction for building of walls to keep things where they need to be. While I'm not super familiar with a plumb line and using one, I have done many projects in my homes, in different houses and places we've lived, where I can tell if somebody used one or not. I can definitely tell in many places there's not a straight wall or a square wall or a plumb doorway in the entire house. And so when you go to hang something, when you go to work on something, it's just so hard to get it straight, get it right, because you don't have anything good to work off of. Even in my own judgment, which I think is fairly good, if I go to hang something and try to eyeball it or judge for myself, when I put it up against a standard, a ruler, a plumb line, I usually quickly see how far off I am. And so even with this video, don't try to adjust your viewing device of any kind. It's tilted on purpose. It's to just admit to all of you that if I try to judge by my own standards, which I really want to do a lot of the time, I want to be the authority. I want to be the one that is saying what's right or wrong, that I don't have that ability to make that right judgment. Not like God who would hold up a plumb line and say, this is the standard. This is holiness. Here it is. Define truth based on this, not something that you would come up with. And that seems like a pretty tall order, and it even seems pretty scary if it weren't for the cornerstone of Jesus Christ, where God in his grace and mercy said, I'm not going to let you fall away. I'm not going to be content with not having a relationship with you ever. So I'm going to make the foundation that you can stand on, that Jesus is the one that can live a perfect, holy life, that can satisfy a holy God and the demands of sin. And he can be that atoning sacrifice for all of us, for you and for me. And then Jesus can actually say, I am the truth, the way, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. And we can see that. We can see that he's the cornerstone. He's the standard then. And our best efforts, which are never going to be perfect, don't need to be. That doesn't mean God is satisfied with us just continuing on in sin as if nothing happened and it doesn't matter. He tells Amos, hey, I'm going to show you grace. I'm going to show you mercy. I'm going to give you chance and chance. But there still is a standard here. I am still a holy God. And so even in him sending his son, Jesus Christ, it's out of his love and great mercy. But it's not licensed to just sin freely. A get out of jail free card that we can just cheapen grace with. But it is hope. It is hope, and it is love. And so that's what I hold you before you this day in this time of devotion, is Jesus. That he is straighter, that he is the authority, he is truth. May you look to him to guide your decisions for your standards today. Amen.